Hi, my name is Raven Newberry with the National Endowment for Financial Education, and today we are in Denver, Colorado, interviewing students, educators, and stakeholders on the impact of financial education.
My name is Lissa Johnson. I am with the Center for Social Development at Washington University in St. Louis. We are a research center in social work, and we really focus in on financial capability, building assets, and financial inclusion from the day you're born all the way through your life. You know, when we talk about financial education, I like to break it up into two words. I like to talk about financial, and then I like to talk about education. So if I could just expand on that a bit. When I think about financial, when we think about financial, I like to ask a question to my students in my financial capability class, and I start with, what is money? Because money means a lot of things. It means more than just money itself. You know, we use credit cards, we use all kinds of things, and it's become much more complicated in today's world. But it's ubiquitous. It's the foundation and the fundamental of everything we do. So when you add those two together, financial and education, we find that we need the most fundamental aspect is both financial education. So as a social worker, financial education is really important to us. The way we think about this is that social workers look at the individual, but they also look at the individual in their environment. And what we know is that when we approach financial education, we think about it not just as the individual, but also as the systems and the institutions that are involved, that the individual is involved with. And so we look at this whole thing sort of like NEFI does as the personal ecosystem. We call it financial capability. We think about the policies that affect the individual. We think about the programs that affect the individual. We think about access to financial products and services and whether individuals, can access those. So we look at, are people included in that? And what we find as social workers, we're typically mostly involved with folks who are financially vulnerable in one way or another. And as we know, financial vulnerability has shown up in our history and legacy of racism. So when we look at that, those are the key issues we need to be thinking about. So that is deeply relevant to the work that we do. NEFI actually supported us in a research study that looked at social work professional curriculum to assess how we are thinking about financial education and what we call at our research center financial capability. And some of the things that we find is that we may not be teaching students or preparing them well enough to be working with clients who are financially vulnerable. So we are working in looking at the curriculum. We've developed, colleagues of mine have developed a textbook. We have developed online modules, all of which are helping to expand social work's workforce development, much like others are doing with teachers in the K through 12, is trying to build that up so that we can be better servers and helpers with our clients over the long run. So when we look at financial education over the life course and financial capability over the life course, we see that it needs to start at birth all the way through the end life stage. So work that we do are with child development accounts, and those could be coupled with financial education, would be a great synergy in moving forward all of this work. So we really appreciate the collaboration that we have with NEFI, because I think we're working in parallel in achieving our goals together. NEFI and all of its partners we are all working together, and I hope that we can continue to work in this space together. For our purposes right now, me and my colleagues, we are going to continue to work in our social work profession to continue to educate our students and build up the skills that we can share with our students and with as they continue to progress and become practitioners and educators in the field, and we can all help and continue to build up financial well-being for everyone. Well, let me tell you how financial education even first showed up in my career. When I first got my licensed clinical social work, I was going to go out and practice clinical work. And one of my very first clients I went to meet, and she presented with depression. I went to see her at her home, and she broke down crying, and it turns out she didn't have enough money to feed her children. Anyone would be depressed about that. And it was really in that moment that I began to think, oh my gosh, we need to do more in terms of preparing ourselves as social workers, but also in helping our clients work through their financial issues. It shows up everywhere, even in a clinical setting. One of the things that I do as a social worker is to teach a financial capability skills lab. And in that, I work with students, and I find that the students themselves, when we're teaching it, we're teaching them to go out and be able to practice and work with in the field. What I'm learning is that these students themselves need the financial capability and the learning, and they're absorbing it. And it's been great working with them. The Skills Lab is a 1 credit course. And at the end of it, for every course I've taught on this subject, every session that I've taught, at the end of it, they all say, oh my goodness, I did not know what I did not know. This needs to be a 3 credit course. We need to be teaching this to all of the students. It needs to be at the foundation of our curriculum, and we need to move this forward so that we can best be prepared to serve our clients.
To learn more, visit nefi.org.